Hey guys, my name's Rishabh, and today I'm going to be answering the question, what is the best banking solution for your startup between Row, Mercury, Brex, and Ramp? This is someone who's then actually used all of these tools in depth for my businesses. What are Row, Mercury, Brex, and Ramp? So Row, Mercury, and Brex are pretty much the same product. They vary in a few different features and some technical specifications and percentages on cashback, etc. And I'm going to be talking about what is the best for your use case in the video. But for the most part, what you'll see, I'm going to demo Mercury real quick. It's just this banking platform where you can access your main account. You have a checking and a savings account like you would usually. You can create virtual cards. This is, I think, the main appeal to a lot of fintech solutions is rather than with Chase or with Amex, let's say I use Amex for my business as well. I can create additional cards, but those are like physical cards. And so creating like 100 of them is usually one for each employee, but not one for each vendor. And so these allow you to create like virtual cards per vendor. So I can have 30,000 digital cards for each of the different SaaS services that I'm paying for, et cetera, and then set limits on them, make it so that certain employees can access certain ones. And that's the main appeal. And then there's a couple other features like Capital or the Treasury, where you can manage your funds, lock it in a mutual fund or in a high interest savings account or something via the fintech solution. They'll probably make, whatever 7-8% managing that themselves. And then they pass on 4% to you, right? And you have bill pay and invoicing where you can actually go out and bill, vendors. As you can see, I have some examples over here from a business I was running in the past on Mercury. I currently use Row, full disclaimer, but as you can see here, you have those invoices coming in. Great API support, great ways to kind of integrate those so people can email you receipts on pretty much all of these solutions. You don't have to worry about that. And then finally, reimbursements and then accounting to connect to whatever tax software you use. All right, so let's go back to it. That's Row, Mercury, Brex. Let's talk about Ramp for a second. Ramp is a little bit different. They primarily are focused on the spend part, as they call it. They'll use these jargony terms like, we are the financial layer for blah, 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 blah. What it essentially means in practice is most businesses are going to have like a big Chase or, they're banking with like this big partner. I don't know, maybe sometimes they're banking with Goldman Sachs even, right? Banking with BofA or whoever it is. On top of that, they are using Ramp. So they link their main business bank account with Ramp. And then through Ramp, they're able to create those thousands of cards to actually operate their business and do stuff. And that comes with managing reimbursements for employees. When they go out and buy coffee on the company card, they get that reimbursed through Ramp and they can upload those receipts super easily. They can text it even. There's so many features for that piece. Do travel, etc. Now, in order to compete, Ramp has made available certain features like allowing people to bank via Ramp, like doing some of those banking features we talked about that the others do. But again, it's not super clear on where exactly you can access all of those. You definitely can, but it's just this very opaque, like B2B sort of process. So generally, what I would recommend is if you are a startup or small business owner, don't use Ramp. There's really no exact need to it unless you really know what you're doing, in which case you probably don't need this video anyway. It is far, far easier for you to use something like Brex, Mercury or Row, where you can manage almost all the features that Ramp is having just all in one place with your bank. So if you haven't incorporated yet, or maybe you have your funds in a personal account, you're looking to create your first business bank account, use one of these three. All right. So now let's talk about, I think some of the most important things, at least to me, which were cashback, treasury yields, support, points, travel, like all these things. So first is cashback. So this, again, is very opaque. Like Ramp, one of the things that they prominently advertise, and I think they used to advertise like super prominently, was their 5% number. You don't see it on their website anymore. I would not be surprised if someone sued them over this. But I used to see billboards in Boston that would be like, businesses save 5% using Ramp. So naturally, I'm like, okay, that's probably cashback. Wow, that's insane. Who is offering 5% on everything? And I think that's why a lot of people would go to Ramp. But once you dig in, you actually find that it's 1.5%, and the total 5% saving that they claim is across all of these other things like reimbursements and et cetera, et cetera. As you can see here, get rewards and perks up to 5% savings. What that actually means is mostly, for the most part, it's going to be 1.5% cashback. So just keep that in mind. With Ramp. Row is 2% on their platinum card after you ask them. Otherwise, I think it's around 1%. So if you have many accounts will qualify for that 2%. And just an FYI, I'm going to include some affiliate links in the description in a Google Doc that you can go to get referred for extra bonuses. Like, you get $600 when you join with one of these banking partners. Plus, you can usually qualify for those offers if you'll ask them that, hey, I'm a startup looking to do this. We really want the 2% platinum card for Row. And that's what they did for us. Mercury, 1.5% cashback after 15K of deposits, which I think most people will have, unless you are a high school student startup founder, in which case, very kudos to you. Still would recommend, Mercury or Row. You don't need to get the cashbacks. This is very marginal stuff we're talking about here, especially at the small business scale. Brex, they have a point system. It's more similar to what you would expect from like an Amex or a Chase Sapphire, right? And it's 7x on rideshare, 2x on software, 4x on Brex travel, 3x on restaurants, 1x on the rest. So what this really means is closer to less than 1%. And why? Because the Brex point is not super valuable. Like an Amex point, the reason people go for 4x points is because 4 Amex points I can usually redeem for around 8 cents of travel credit. So I'm essentially getting like 8x. And it's actually better in many cases. Like my parents will have 3% cards. Like, why don't you just do cashback cards? And it's a great idea, by the way. It makes sense for a lot of people. But if you're doing traveling, you can just get so much value from using those points. The Brex points, though, are not super valuable for travel because they don't have many travel partners. So what it realistically means is you're just going to end up using your Brex points as cashing out at around 1x for Brex travel if you book through their portal. They're not going to have amazing travel offers like you would get through an Amex or Chase where you can transfer it over on like a using Seats.Aero. You identify some business flight, only 30,000 points going to transfer over to that, right? Not really going to be able to do that through the Brex. Maybe they will expand this a lot. So, if you're watching this in the late future, maybe this is super valuable, but for the most part, it's going to be like close to 1x. And then obviously the 3x on restaurants, that's pretty cool. 4x on travel, that's, fine. 7x on rideshare. This is pretty cool. For some time, I was using Brex on Ubers. I had Uber One as well. So it was like 13% on Ubers, which is just mind-blowing, right? But yeah, for the most part, I would actually say Row really wins here. 2% platinum is just really, really solid for a corporate card. And then, Ramp has like closer to 1.5%, to matching like around what you would get from Mercury. But again, for huge businesses, Ramp is probably like a really great solution. Then customer support. You may not think customer support matters, but like if you lose a credit card, it is kind of a pain. And for all of these guys, you can just cancel the card and lock it very, very easily online. But let's say there's fraud or something like that. Any other reason you need to reach out to your bank, a chargeback or something, it is very helpful to have good support. All these guys have great support. Like, let's just be real. It's way better than what you would get from Wells Fargo, waiting 2 hours on their line. Like, it's just fintech solutions are just way better when it comes to that, right? But I would say Row and Brex are like some of the best here. Row, in my opinion, has the best support just because they assign like almost every startup a personal, just one-on-one person you can message. You can meet them in person too. I've like, these guys will be hosting dinners in Boston, in SF, whatever, for founders. It's really cool. They just have really good support when it comes to that. And again, I'm like, no financial disclaimer here, right? Like, I don't have any investments or anything in any of these guys. I'm some random college student, right? I just have experienced Rows like probably better. But Brex is also great. I'm sure if you qualify with millions of dollars, Mercury or Ramp will also give you like a personal support person. And they'll argue that, we have the best support, but anecdotal. Next, Treasury. So Treasury is like you deposit your hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars into your bank account. which one can you earn a yield on, right? Because normally, let's say if I had that in my personal account, I could invest in stocks. So these guys will mostly give you around 4% in their treasury. It'll be like T-bills, sometimes mutual funds or stuff like that as well. But for the most part, you're going to get like a 3.96%. It'll be pretty standard across a lot of these banks on the base minimum. And then as you go up, it'll go to like 4.1 or 4.2 or whatever it might be at the current time. But this is a requirement. You need at least 350K in cash for the Row, 250K in cash for the Mercury one. Again, sometimes these will vary. Sometimes you can actually ask them to just give you access, and they will. So do keep that in mind. And then Brex. So Brex, they actually claim that we don't just let anyone bank with us. We only let like these high growth startups and SF bank with us. I can say that that's like probably not true, because I was just able to like sign up with a while back with like a non-high growth startup. So just like kind of keep that in mind. But Brex otherwise generally is like 50K minimum balance that you kind of have to keep, or like a partner referral. Once again, I'll include some links in the Google Doc down below for some benefits, and like hopefully that will also just get you referred from a high growth startup founder, so we're going to let you into Brex. 4%, same thing. And then Ramp recently added like the business account deal where you can, as I was mentioning, like where you can actually store your money like in between in your Ramp account, and there it's like 2.5% on $1,000. So it's considerably less. So once again, that's why I mentioned like these solutions are just generally better if you're looking for the banking solution. But most of the time, people use Ramp. They also have like Chase where they're banking or whatever it is. Okay, so then when it comes to the final verdict, here's like generally what I'd recommend. If you're a startup founder, you have a small business, it's a LLC or C Corp, use Row. You can use Brex if this appeals to you, like their point structure, but Row generally is going to be great. You can transfer super really easily on any of these fintech banks. They're super quick, free fees for the most part. I think Ramp is the only one that has a domestic wire fee. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, just use one of these three for the most part. Yeah, and you really can't go wrong, but I just think Row is like slightly better perks when it comes to these things, and just better support compared to Mercury and Brex, but very, very, very similar. They also do have really good join offers for like all of these. So again, leave a link in the description where you can view that for like $5,000 bonus, $1,000 bonus, whatever it is. Mercury is just great all around. If you like really plan on having a very small amount of money, like $100, $200, really, this is my very, very small business. Mercury is just a very solid platform. The UI is probably better than Row and Brex. In my opinion, like the Mercury suites are just really cooking there. And then Brex, if this really appeals to you, it's great. They also are like just trying to lean into like the cultural hype in SF and like, get startup founders there to like really use them, which is cool. But, so if that appeals to you, like, go for that. And then Ramp, I think you would probably already know what you're doing, but if you're coming from an existing like financial stack, you already are processing thousands of invoices and you need those AI features for reimbursements, et cetera, then it could be good. But for the most part, like as I showed here, you have reimbursements, you have bill pay all into any of these other platforms. So really, like you're using Ramp for like percent better on invoicing or for receipting via text or something like that, which really only matters if you have tons of employees and you have a complex like reimbursement and travel structure and stuff. But for the most part, I know that people who are watching this video are like content creators or influencers or small business owners looking to create, their first startup or you're looking to incorporate and everything like that. And so just, you're not going to have all of those expenses and all of those things that you need to have tracked. So you can just really use like Row, Mercury or Brex. But for the most part, go for Row. That's my big recommendation. Best bank for the startup, going to be Row, I think. Hope you enjoyed this video. The best way you can support me is by subscribing. Feel free to use any of the links in the description. Don't really care if you find a better deal elsewhere, so do search around. Otherwise, you can use one of my links. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll post any updates in a pinned comment in case there's anything that's factually incorrect here.